Yep, testing, testing. Permaculture is great. I repeat, permaculture is great. Hello, I'm Aaron and welcome to Lulu's Perch Permaculture Farm. As the sign says, we are here on 5.5 acres of ornamental gardens originally in the heart of Pinbarren, and we're actually in between three amazing volcanic plugs, Mount Pinbarren, Mount Karura and Mount Koran, and they are our parent rocks of the area, and a parent rock is what dictates the type of soil that your land is going to be in. And so because we've got a highly paramagnetic volcanic plug just over at Mount Pinbarren, the soil here is really quite great. So I'm going to take you on a bit of a virtual tour around the garden. You can't ask any questions, but I'll just try to imagine what you're probably asking. So the first thing that we think about in permaculture, well, what is permaculture? It's a mix of two words, permanent agriculture. Join them two together and you get permaculture. And there are a set of ethics that come with permaculture: earth care, people care, and fair share, and also 12 principles that you can learn about. Probably not on this talk because it will take me forever to go through them all. But the first thing that we ever do in permaculture, before we even buy land, is we do what's called reading the landscape. And so when we're reading the landscape, we're looking at the solar pathways because we want that sun, because that's going to give us the most potential for growth. Once we know the solar pathways, we want to know where the water is flowing, how much rainfall this place is getting. And then after we know water, we want to look at land. How steep is the land? How flat is the land? What type of land are we on? And then finally, the wind. Where is the prevailing wind coming from? And so you can unpack reading the landscape as much as you want, go into as much detail, but it's definitely something that you should think about before buying a property, and just looking at those four things, creating a bit of a permaculture checklist if you're going to buy a property, and giving that to your real estate agent like Dan and telling him this is what I want, and then they'll come back with some of the results and you can choose from there. So we've got a property called Lulu's Perch because we're perched on the top of a hill. One side's north facing, one side's south facing, one side is south facing. And on the northern side, that's where we're going to see a lot of our market gardens, our food forests, and all things are growing. And then down the back, we probably won't go down there today because it's just swales and water harvesting, and I'll get to that point a little later. We've got the house here, which is what we call Zone Zero. It's where we spend all of our time. We cook there, we sleep there, we party there, we talk serious business things there. That's where we eat and sleep. Now, in permaculture, we want our garden designed in terms of zones. So Zone 1 would be all the things within a garden that need constant attention, like a nursery, like small worm farms and little vegetable gardens and herb gardens, which is exactly what I've got behind me here. Directly next to the kitchen is our herb garden and our medicinal garden. So if you come with me through here, in this herb garden, we've got lots of gingers and turmerics, got different types of perennial spinaches in here. We've got comfrey, Lagos spinach, we've got our rosemary, little flowers. We try to put as much biodiversity in here as possible. We've got passion fruit marigolds, we've got mugworts, small mulberry in there as well. Lots of dandelion, because dandelion's an amazing medicinal plant as well. We've got mullein, different types of chilies. And the reason why I've created this little space is not just for the biodiversity, not just for the medicinal and herb garden, but also to demonstrate to people how much plant life you can fit on a small garden. So just in this, what is it, 5 by 8, so yeah, pretty small area, we've got quite a bit of food growing here. We've got strawberries down there, I can see aloe vera as well, passion fruits, growing up the recycled pallets. I can see a cat climbing up and down the recycled pallet behind you there. And it turns into a little bit of a playground in here as well. So doing a little bit of balance beaming. Hey meow meows, what you doing? Getting yourself into a spot of bother, I assume. And so in this garden here, we just try to cram as much as we can in here. And it's just beautiful sensory garden as well. Straight from the kitchen, get what we need in terms of herbs, we go straight back into the kitchen. So when we come out the other side, you get this really beautiful view of Mount Pinbarren. That's an old volcanic plug, highly paramagnetic, old ancient volcano. We can talk about paramagnetism later. Over here we've got accommodation. We've got 2 families living with us and they help us do some of the gardening, and they've got their own little herb gardens and raised beds as well that they tend to. Now, also in your sort of zone 1, zone 2 area, I like to have some worm farms. So I've got some worm farms in bathtubs, so recycling that those materials that I found at the tip. Just found a couple of old bathtubs and then turned them into worm farms. You'll see I've got an incredibly large and haphazard pile of wood there. What I do with that wood is I actually make biochar. So with biochar, what we're doing is we're burning wood in the absence of oxygen, and I'm putting a barrel inside of a barrel, and I'm cooking the internal barrel, and I'm getting amazing biochar. So biochar is basically a super soil. You can get the biochar, mix it with your compost, mix it with a compost tea, and inoculate that biochar until it's absolutely packed jam with life and minerals. And then you put it into your garden and it will slowly start to absorb, leach out all those minerals and all those microbes. So I've got a bucket of it over here, which is, not sure if you can see in the light, but this is all beautiful biochar, basically a super soil. And I haven't even inoculated that. It's almost inoculating itself just because it got a little bit of rainwater in there and the bugs and critters have moved in. But this is enough surface area to go over a really large part of the garden. So just using old barrels to create biochar, and then I crush it up into a powder and I'll put it into compost. So it's really quite a simple process once you've got it set up. And once you have it set up, it works absolutely wonders and increases the immune system of your garden as well, increases the water retention in the soil, increases the mineral retention and microbes. It's an absolute game changer.